Sato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. The subject of my talk today is why rituals. In the first part of last century in Kolkata, there was a literary person, his name was Raj Shekhar Basu, and his pen name was Parashuram. So he was essentially a scientist. He was born in a place where Hindi was the spoken word, so in the childhood he learned Hindi. Then he graduated, did his undergraduate degree there, and then came to Calcutta. Studied in very well-known college in Calcutta named Presidency College. And at that time, great scientists used to teach there, like Acharya Prafulla Chandra Roy. He was a great chemist, he was a FRS also. And gradually, he passed all the exams, and in the postgraduate exam, he got the gold medal also. And his subject was chemistry. And he got a job in one chemical factory which was started by Sir P.C. Roy, Prafulla Chandra Roy, and it was a nationalistic, that means that company was instituted without any help of the foreign collaboration, if you call it. That means they are so national, and they had the spirit of nationalism was so great at that time that they competed with the what is called these Western companies, which were quite prevalent at that time. So he joined that factory and ultimately had the association of that company throughout his life. That means he died. He was born in 1880 and died in 1960. So 80 years actually he lived, and all through his life he had some connection with that factory. He joined probably as a very junior chemist, but when he passed away, he was probably the chairman of the board of directors or something like that. But this is his career. But the important or the interesting part of his life is that he was a writer of satirical short stories, which is very much appreciated in Bengal. He started writing at a very advanced age, probably at the age of 50 or 60. At that time, Rabindranath Tagore and such other great scholar and literary persons was alive, and they also appreciated his writing. And he wrote not too many. His writing is not too much and not very voluminous, but it is a sort of side business, as you can say. So every year during this Durga Puja time, that means there is the greatest celebration in Calcutta area, that Mother Goddess's worship. All the newspapers or magazines, they used to have a bumper issues, just like annual issues. And he used to write one or two stories in some of the important magazines. So in that way, he had a good collection of short stories. And as I told you, that he was a short story writer and also satirical. That means from the he used to pick up something of the contemporary issues or nature or something which is very well known to everybody, and in a satirical form he used to present that. So one of the short stories was named Birinchi Baba. Birinchi Baba short story. Birinchi means, it is a Sanskrit word, means Lord Brahma. And Baba means a holy person. So a holy person named Birinchi Baba the story revolves around his incidents of his life. So this Birinchi Baba had the reputation that he has lived 5,000 years. That means in his physical body he is living more than 5,000 years. And he was a chum of Lord Buddha, Jesus Christ, then what to say, even what is called Manu. Manu means the great lawgiver of ancient India. As if they are his friends, and in that way actually he used to speak and talk, and people actually believed, those who are really very much into what is called the grace of the spiritual personalities like him. So they believed all the stories, and in that way he had a great reputation. He built up the reputation, and the story revolves around how actually people ultimately discovered that he was a fake person. So that was the story. And in that story, the story was so interesting that well-known movie maker Satyajit Roy made a movie out of that story. And the name of that movie is Mahapurush. And that movie is available in what is called in YouTube also. So the picture is like this, that means that person was sitting with what is called a great personality, and people were sitting around, somebody was prostrating, and he was sitting in a sofa, and he was doing like this. Past, present, past, past, present, future. In that way actually he just evolved his posture. In that way he was doing. And people believe that that is a sign that he knows the past, and he is in the future, a present, and he is also in future. In that way, he is a permanent person. So that was the story that he said. The point is that a ritual means something which actually is, in one sense, that means it is something which is performed, and it has got some spiritual significance. So that is why I brought this story. And ritual is a very common word. Anything which is repeatedly done, or we do as a routine, or it is a part of our custom, all those things go into the word ritual. So ritual is defined as something that is characteristic of a rite, practice or observation, particularly of a religion. It is in the religion field actually it is like this, that means there are certain things that we do which everybody in the community will do on certain time or certain period or certain time of their life. In that way they go, and in that way they have become established practice, and that is one aspect of a religion. Now, if, for example, the ritual is the recitation of traditional vows in different marriage ceremonies, which is very common. If you are married in a Christian church, you will see that the priest will chant something, which is very common. That means everybody, many people probably know all those words that will be chanted. In Hinduism also, there are ceremonies that mean they lit a fire, and after many other paraphernalias, definitely they will make a round of 7 steps around that fire and take the vow that are quite well known. So every religion has got their set of rituals for different occasions. Very recently, there's an incident I am telling that I have been invited for a sacred thread ceremony of a young boy. That means that family is far away from India, so they asked me whether I shall be present in their celebration. So it is a ceremony that is done in the Hindu system. Those who are really orthodox. Many people nowadays do not bother to do all those things, but some people, especially those who come from the orthodox families or those who are very particular about the maintenance of their traditions, they do all those things. It is a ceremony which is performed when a boy attains to the age of 7 and is invested into the practice of repeating the Gayatri mantra. That means the sacred mantra which is universal in form. And certain ceremonies are there, that means the performance of pujas and all those things are there. Then the mantra is taught to that young boy, and that young boy is supposed to repeat that mantra every day. preferably 3 times, in 3 sessions, at least 108 times in the morning, then at the noon time, and also in the evening. But usually it is done in the morning and in the evening if somebody wants to do that for convenience. And in that way actually it is invested. That means investiture ceremony is done, and ceremonially the mantra is given. And people, friends and relatives are invited, and they have feast, and in that way that ceremony is performed. This is an initial ceremony, and in Hinduism there are 10 rituals which are considered to be very important. Just birth, then other things, then this investiture into this sacred thread, and marriage, of course death and other things, all those things are there. But if somebody does elaborately, so there are 10 well-known ceremonies, rituals that are performed in the life of a Hindu, you can say. But now things have been compressed into maybe 2 or 3 or something like that. Death definitely, which is known as Shraddha ceremony, that means rites of death is also there. So these are what is called religion-related and rituals, which is very common. That means in the society, these are common practices that we see that has come down to all religion. It is not, because I belong to Hindu religions, I know these things, but definitely there are this type of practices which are followed, the followers of other religions also. It is also, now this ritual is also a sequence of activity involving gestures, words and objects performed in a place and performed according to set sequence. That is actually a ritual which we see, which is done for the spiritual or in the field of religion. That set of practices that has come down to us, and we do that. It is like this, religion has got 3 aspects. One is philosophy, second aspect is mythology, and third aspect is ritual. Philosophy is the highest thing, that means those things we say, Brahman is everything and it can be realized, and all those things we say, and it is available in our scriptures, which is very sacred, and they are studied and they are commented upon, and there are also methods by which actually that can be realized. That means they can become true to a practitioner's life. So all those things are written in the philosophy. Now mythology actually develops in this way, that means to realize those truths, some people actually worked. That means they took the instructions seriously, and what has been said in the scripture they practiced. And after their practice they became successful. That means what has been said in the philosophy, they had realized in their life. They said, yes, this is true. So in that way, mythologies are the life stories, or you can say the teachers' teachings about how to reach or realize those truths which have been expounded in the scriptures. So these are the stories that, if we call it story, in that way that those things have come down, and they are very useful, because some people are really serious what religion or philosophy have to say, whether we can really know them or realize them. So those are serious, they will follow that. So mythologies are very useful for them, and they follow, listen, and in that way they become religious. And there are third aspect which is known as ritual. Rituals, we can say that the persons who had the realization, that means those who took the trouble of practicing those teachings of the philosophy, and the way they did, actually, those are enumerated, and in that way actually what they did, those things have come down to us as rituals, we can say. The point is this, by doing these things, that means physically doing those things, they had the realization. So it is expected. We feel that if we do the same thing, same set of things or same thing or practices that they have been done, if we do, probably we shall be able to reach the goal. That means we shall also have the realization. So they are actually rituals. And you will see in the lives of great saints, even in our present day, they started with those practices. That means those ritualistic practices. And in that way, those are really, really very serious, and ultimately they have the realization. That means they have reached the truth. So these are the three things that is common in all religions, that means philosophy, then mythology, and these rituals. So rituals are always tested in a sense, that means those who have the courage or interest, they practice those things. Some of them are successful, and some of them actually progress. They find that yes, that has been said, I may not be reaching the goal, but definitely some result I am getting, that in that way that is possible. The ritual is rituals may be prescribed by the traditions of a community, including a religious community. Rituals are a feature of all known human societies. So in all societies, that means where religion is there, even in tribal societies also, still there, they have certain rituals, certain rites and rituals are there. They may not be that serious, or may not be that enumerative, may not be that much interested, but still they have certain rituals for everything. So in this way, rituals have come down, and ritual is a ceremony of action performed in a customary way. That is the most important. That means they will say this is the prescribed method, and in that way if we do, and we will be successful. At present we are studying one book called Uddhava Gita. So in Uddhava Gita, actually we have come to a portion where Lord Krishna is advising his student Uddhava in what way to worship him. Worship him in a sense that he wants to realize God. He will reach him, and Lord Krishna is prescribing him that these are the methods by which actually one can perform what is called worship. Worship is a part of the practice of devotion. And in worship, actually, rituals are really concentrated. You can say, in meditation, you know, there are simple rituals that means you sit down and then you take breathing properly, and then you actually concentrate your mind. 3-4 steps are there, and that ends the ritualistic aspect, you can say. But in worship, that means which is a part of the devotion, practice of devotion, rituals are plenty. Plenty in a sense, that means each path, each sect, which has come down as a follower of somebody, so they have prescribed that these are the things that I have done, or these are things that I have learned from my predecessors, and if you follow them, actually you will have the self-realization. So Lord Krishna advised Uddhava, I shall just repeat that, which actually we study in the class. He is saying that after his passing, that physically when he will be gone, so what will happen? Lord Krishna in that spirit actually telling Uddhava that when I have gone, so in what way actually worship me? That means in what way actually practice your devotion. So he is saying, seeing, touching, worshipping, serving, praising and saluting my images, as well as my devotees, and reciting the glories and deeds of both. So in that way actually he prescribed these are the rituals by which actually will feel my presence. That means the practice will be as good as I am here today, but when I am gone tomorrow, actually if you do these things, you will feel my presence. That means it will be as good as you are doing something for me that you are doing now. So what are they? Seeing, touching, worshipping, serving, praising, and saluting my images. So the point is that images are a replica of the person. So when Lord Krishna is gone, so images can be made, and it was made, and it is being made, and it is always there. So even the worship of the images, seeing the images, and in that way actually he is saying that you can practice your devotion, and that will be acceptable to me. That means he himself is saying that these are the ways by which actually you should be closer to me. Then again, there are certain other things that he has said. Faith in listening to tales about me, meditating on me, offering everything received unto me, and surrendering oneself in service to me. So these are also practices. That means if you have listened to the tales, which we always say that is Bhagavatam and other Puranas, where the God stories are there, listening to them is also one way. It is a part of ritual. Ritual in a sense, you know, there are persons who recite them. I have seen one person who actually is very well known a reciter, His name was Dongreji Maharaj. You will find in YouTube his, what is called, he has passed away, but some of his discourses are still available. Of course, they are in Hindi. So he, when he used to recite, very austere, that means he looked very, he himself, this personality itself will attract you that he is really a pure person. He was a householder, but he looked, and his austerities are such that throughout the day, he will not, just in the early morning probably he will take a little bit, some breakfast or something like that, and then he will go in 2 sessions. That means maybe each session will be about 4 hours each. In that way, two sessions will be there. That means maybe 8 to 12. There will be a break from up to 3 hours, then 3 to 7 or something, maybe 2 to 6, whatever it may be according to convenience, another session. And then actually, throughout this day, actually, he will not eat anything. And not only that, he has a ritual in one sense that he did not drink any water from the, what is called the municipal supply. So we had to find out some well, that means, well means dug well, not even what is called this deep well, which is motorized. So he will drink that type of water. And at the end of his day, he used to cook his own food. And then actually he used to take, he had only one assistant who used to gather all those things for him, but he used to cook for himself. And in that way he used to cook and then take food, and then after doing spiritual practices, he used to take rest. And throughout the day, so these sessions used to last for about 12 days or 13 days or 14 days. That means all Bhagavatam takes that much time. He never talked to anybody. That means he was quite silent by himself, and he used to follow these rituals, and in that way he used to get what is called these expositions. And believe me, 50,000 people, 60,000 people used to attend in every session for all these days. It is not that once they came and went away. It is not like that. They continued to listen this type of exposition. And that is why he has, the Lord Krishna has said, faith in listening to the tales about me. So by listening, because you know, householders, even others also, that means who are not really, they do not find time to do any spiritual practice, not meditation, what to say about worship and all those things. What is the way to realize God? How to develop spirituality? So at the point of certain time of the life, actually many people seek something which will be spiritual, which will be feasible. So Lord Krishna has said that just listen to my life stories, and that will take you to me when you die. So that's a great advantage, and people believe in that, and those who actually believe in that, they try to convince others or share the knowledge of the life stories with others with great respect and what is called purity, and in that way things happen. So he's saying faith in listening to tales about me, meditating on me, offering everything received unto me, and surrendering oneself in service. So the recounting of my lives and deeds, observance of my special days, festivities in my temples and songs, dance and instrumental music in company. So these are the rituals. That means you will see in India there are temples of Lord Krishna in many places, and they have certain regulations. Regulations means the rituals. Regulations in what is called in religion actually is the ritual. That means you have to do step by step these things in that way. So in many temples they have scheduled rituals that is done. Early morning they will get up and what type of worship they will do, what will they will offer, in what way the date will be dressed, what will be the chanting, all those things are really set. And in that way actually it happens. And these are the rituals. So he is saying, the recounting of my lives and deeds, observance on special days. Special days means, that means certain thing happened on a particular day. In Lord Krishna's life there is Rasa Purnima, that means the particular full moon day on which actually he played with the gopis. So that is a very sacred day, because the gopis had the vision of Lord Krishna on that particular day. That means every gopi, that means those cowherd girls had the vision that all of them at a time had the company of Lord Krishna with them. So in that way that is a very sacred day. So in that way, observance of such days are part of the spiritual practice. Festivities in my temples with songs. There are religious songs that are sung on certain occasions. Occasions means, I have seen there is a temple which is on the western part of India where Lord Krishna actually migrated, called Dwarka. So there is as I told you, there is a system. So there is a noon meal, which is, that means at the noon time, the Lord is offered with certain food items which he liked, or the prescribed, that has come down as a tradition, maybe puri, shak and sweets and all those things. And at the time of his eating, that means when that time, actually people, the temple is really closed for viewing, that means people cannot see. But after what is called the food offering is over, it is open. So what is done at that time? A singer will come, that means he may be an appointed, or maybe a, what is called, a guest singer or something, or maybe a great singer who has the opportunity of traveling at that time. So they will sing songs, devotional songs dedicated to Lord Krishna. So that is a custom. So in that way, actually, these are the part of the rituals that Lord Krishna has said, which is good. Good in a sense, that means in that way one can cultivate devotion. And songs, dance and instrumental music in company together. So these are the simple things, that means we do these things for other purposes, but on such occasions, if these things are done, so these fall into the category of rituals. So this is for the practice of devotion, Lord Krishna has said. And of course, there are other ways also he has said, that is also interesting to know. So he has said, one should worship me in the sun through Vedic hymns. Very simple. That means if you want to worship me, think that I am present in the sun. So it is an expression of a definite divinity. So in that, as a symbol, and in that way, how to worship God. Sun is too far, so you cannot offer food and all those things. So naturally he has said, by reciting Vedic hymns. So there are hymns in the Vedas, Upanishads and all those things. Just recite them under sun, and that will be my worship. And the fire through oblation of ghee. Ghee means clarified butter. That means there are mantras in the scriptures. You water them and offer them in the fire, and that will be. There are thousands of names of Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu. So in that way you can utter the names and then offer these oblations. And other also, in a sense, that means those are spiritual persons, take care of them, hospitality and all those things. And also, incidentally, he has said, well, I reside in cows also. You know, cows are very sacred. So if somebody wants to dig the history, how actually we have what is called SPCA, that means Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, they will see that in scriptures actually Lord Krishna has taught us from the very beginning. That means you should be respectful. Not only respectful, you should really worship what is called animals. As a represent, cow is there because cows in those days were very close to households. In India, cows are very very much domesticated. That means they have names and they follow the routine of the household also. That means they are given food and at certain times and taken care, and in that way they are taken care. Not dogs and cats the way it is done in the West. So that is the difference. So here dogs and cats are actually just like a member of the family. So in that way they are looked after. So in India it is a little different. Cows are there, but of course they are not really coming to the inside the. They have their cow shed. That means they have their own place to stay, not inside their rooms. Now these are the ways that he has said. The point is this, that there are ways by which actually, or different ways by which actually rituals can be practiced, that we see. Now let us see what is the, in a broad sense, how rituals actually are helpful and why it is necessary and why it should remain with us. That is the point. Swami Vivekananda, you know, he himself was not a ritualistic person. In our order, if you see the direct disciples, Swami Vivekananda, Swami Prapannananda and some other direct disciples, you will not find that they are doing too much ritualistic worships. But you will find one Swami, his name was Swami Ramakrishna, was very proficient. Proficient, not only proficient, that means he actually, what is called, was into it, into ritualism. And in that way he did. And not only that, all the rituals that we follow, probably it was instituted by him. That means worship of Sri Ramakrishna, the way we do. Probably to some extent, Holy Mother might have said something, but he used to do worship of Sri Ramakrishna from the very beginning, because he took care of Sri Ramakrishna at the time of his death. That means when he was very sick, was almost passing away. So he was the closest of the direct disciples who took care of him. So in that way he knew what Sri Ramakrishna liked, disliked, and what will be comfortable and what will be not comfortable to him. In that way, rituals has been modified, you can say, or has been instituted in our order. So, but Swami, as I told you, Swami Vivekananda was not into much in the ritualism. Probably he will go do the worship in this way. He will go to the temple and sprinkle Ganges water, and then offer flowers and do meditation. The pictures that we see, the minimum that he has done are like this. He never went into doing what is called systematic, what is called ritualistic worship. So it is like this spiritual realization. So in his talk in Bhakti Yoga, you will find he has said, it is also a significant fact that spiritual giants have been produced only in those systems of religion where there is an exuberant growth of rich mythology and ritualism. This is one remark he has done. That means if you want to have somebody realize God, that means ritualism is very helpful. That means for spiritual growth it is very helpful. I can give you an example. You will see that in Catholicism there are many saints. That means anybody who reads the lives of certain saints, say Saint Francis, we are reading about Saint Brother Lawrence, and there are many saints who actually inspire anybody who into spirituality in any religion. They are actually great saints, and you see in Catholic religion actually they have come. That means they are born and brought up in Catholic faith. Why? So Swami Vivekananda is saying those who have strong ritualism, Catholics are ritualistic. That means there are certain rites and rituals you'll find that they follow every day. So in that way, in such religion actually, great saints have come. And of course in Hinduism it is full of rituals, and their country is full of temples, it is always happening. So you will find that what is called large number of realized person have born. How? Because of ritualism. So it is easy in a sense, that means you know the path, things are simple, you follow them, and if you are sincere, you reach the goal. These are the simple steps. But in Protestantism, you will see, you will not find anybody of that category which you will find a person like Saint Francis or Brother Lawrence. There is nothing like that. So this is the general observation that Swami Vivekananda has said, that those systems of religion where there is an exuberant growth of rich mythology and rich ritualism, they have produced spiritual giants. Then in another place I say, doctrines or dogmas or rituals or books or temples or forms are but secondary details also. She has given the proper position of these rituals also. What is the goal of life? So if you remain immersed in practice of religion, you will just remain as a what is called priest. That means priest in a sense, that means who actually do the rituals for the sake of earning money. Earning money means for living. That is perfectly all right as a profession, but it cannot take you further. So these rituals or these other practices that are there had to be given a turn for the spiritual realization. That is the goal of life, Swami Vivekananda. So that is a very famous quote of Swami Vivekananda's ultimate goal of human life is to reach God. And other things, whatever we can do that is perfectly all right. So there are different paths that has been prescribed, we follow. But the point is that we have to remember the goal. We do not have to divert. Divert means we should not end our practices just by practicing those rituals. That is the point. So this happens in all religion. You'll find that all the persons who are following the rituals and all those things are sincerely seeking God. You will see Sri Ramakrishna came to the Kali temple as a priest. He did not know much about what is called a spiritual goal and all those things, or he had some sort of inclination, but ultimately he developed that. One after another, doing spiritual practice, listening to what is we can say mythology, the stories of lives of the great saints and sages. We can call them mythologies, and ultimately he becomes serious and practiced, and ultimately had the God realization. But you see that after him, there are even his what is called descendant. That means they bring in the Kali temple of Rani Rasmani in Dakshineswar, they usually recruit near and what is called relatives, those who are in some way connected with Sri Ramakrishna's family. That means those who live in Kamalpur or such other places. They try to recruit priests from the family. That is a tradition. But we will not find that any of them have been respected as a who has reached God or have seen God. The point is that it may happen. That means practices are going on, but the goal is we have to keep in mind. But Swami Vivekananda has said that rituals are really important, and when it is done very seriously. There was a conversation of Swami Vivekananda, you will find interviews, one person from one newspaper, contemporary newspaper, it was the Hindu, which is still a very well-known newspaper published from Chennai. So Swami Vivekananda was traveling in train. As you know, when he returned from this country, he went first landed in southern part of India. So he was traveling in a train because he did not have time other time. So that journalist actually caught hold of him inside that train. It was arranged probably. So from one Chengalpattu, we have a center now. That from there actually he was traveling to Chennai, and he was putting different questions about what he has done, what is his opinion, and in this way. So one of the questions was like this. He said that what relation, Swamiji, does ritual bear to religion? This is a very simple question that he had asked. So rituals are the kindergarten of religion, Swami Vivekananda said. The point is that kindergarten. So the thing is that because it is kindergarten, it should not be negligible also. Because in certain way, that means kindergarten is necessary. If you want to be what is called a PhD, so naturally he will have to start from the kindergarten because you have learned what is called reading, writing from the kindergarten, so you can reach that state. So in the same way, in spirituality also, these rituals help, just like a kindergarten stage helps a child to reach the highest state. So in that way, he said that is important. It shouldn't be thrown away. That is the point. Many people think that, well, we should jump into what is called PhD. It is not possible. So it is not possible to reach the goal, that means realization, without starting somewhere. And these rituals are really very important and helpful. So he is saying they are absolutely necessary for the world as it is now, because we are not really very competent to have the self-realization by sitting for meditation for 1 hour, 2 hours. It is not possible. So naturally these simple things actually help in the gathering the momentum of spirituality. They are only we shall have to give people newer and fresher rituals. A party of thinkers must undertake to do this. Party of thinkers, you see, Swami Vivekananda said some of the rituals are obsolete. That means they are not necessary. Of course, there is no elaborate statement of Swami Vivekananda. These are to be given up and these are to be accepted. But he has kept it open for thinkers to figure out what will be useful and practicable in this age, and those rituals actually we should practice. Out of existing rituals, new ones will have to be evolved. That was his opinion. Then he said, there are several, there is, our daily activities are also there. This is not, of course, Swami Vivekananda saying, but from the point of view of rituals, it is important to know. Every person does some work every day. So those work, karma as it is called, actually are divided into several categories. 5 categories we can say. First is called some prohibited action. We know that telling lies or killing people or what is stealing things, they are not really acceptable and they are nishiddha. That means they are forbidden. We should not do those things. And those actions are really detrimental to spiritual life. What to spiritual life, social life also they are detrimental. Then he is called prayaschitto. Something by mistake I have done. Later on I discovered that that is bothering me. So naturally some prescription is there. That means, well, you sit in one place for a long time, maybe dawn to dusk, and do some, what is called, repetition of this mantra. So as I telling you that story of that holy man, Birinchi Baba, he used to prescribe like this. Somebody said, oh, I have lost job, I am not finding a job, so please tell me something so that I can get a job. So he said that you repeat this mantra, Durjati. In that way he gave the name, something like that, and repeat this, what is called, 10,000 times or 15,000 times. So in that way he used to give prescription of different practices. So the point is that these are called prayaschitto. Prayaschitto means that by repetition which the old sins will be overcome. Sometimes we do not feel while doing something that I am doing something wrong, but after in hindsight actually feel that that is bothering us. That means that is really taking a lot of my energy, thought and time by what is called by remembering them. So how to get rid of them? So this is what is called prayaschitto. There is a person who came to Sri Ramakrishna, you'll find in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. He was very much adept in doing prayaschitto. He said that, well, I shall go on the bank of the river in such and such place, and from day and night I shall repeat this Gayatri mantra for 100,000 times. So he came to Sri Ramakrishna to tell that. Some people do that just to get what is called declare that I am a spiritual person also. In that way people think that is what is called a holy man or religious person. That is also there. But he was a sincere person, and Sri Ramakrishna made him understood that means that is good, but also in daily life one should be spiritual. That is the most important part. Then there is karmas, that means which are known as with kammo karma, that means which desire. That means we have many desires to get rid of disease, to get a job, to get a rise, or to get a son or daughter, or to get rid of certain trouble. In that way we have many types of what is called desires in our mind. So certain practices are there which are known as kammo karma. For that also there are rituals. And naimittika and nitya, that means there are daily practices that are also there. As I told you, that young boy for which actually I was invited to be present for investiture ceremony into Gayatri mantra, that is a nitya karma. That means if that investiture is done, if the person is sincere, the family is very sincere, that will go lifelong. That means in the morning and the evening they will have to practice that. So these are called nitya karma. So in our scriptures it is said that these daily work, daily practice, if it is done with the spirit of non-attachment, then actually it will be beneficial. And if it is done as a drudgery, then actually that will not definitely bring any good result. So these are the rituals done in a spirit. There is a ritual which is done in a spirit of what is called devotion, then actually it will bear result. Now there are certain aspects of a ritual other than the individual practice. They are like this. Rituals bind members of a society together. Christmas actually get together. So you'll find in our Hinduism there are so many celebrations when actually we gather together. And that is one what is called, if we call it positive aspect, but definitely it is you can say this is the effect of a ritual which we can see in the society. They come together, people of the like-minded people will come together and enjoy the celebration, and in that way it happens. And also it maintains the cultural tradition also. This singing or what is called their dresses and all those things you see on these occasions, they are really, we can see when these certain rituals are performed, they are quite evident that they are celebrated. Then expression it is like this, it may be said, expression in action of the philosophical principles or vehicles of ideas. So you see that while in social circumstances, there are certain type of things that we do. Probably we eat certain food at a certain, when there are certain rituals are performed or when certain worship is performed. They are quite more or less fixed in a sense, or by tradition it has come down. One of them may be like this, that means during, or dresses also, that means certain dresses. I remember that means there is a worship which we do not do here, which is the worship of goddess Saraswati. And that particular day, actually the white dress is really auspicious. And also certain food, like what is called certain white colored food, there are certain food which are really auspicious. Or also certain fruit, which actually is eaten on that particular day. In that way, tradition has come on. The point is that from social point of view, actually, their rituals actually they are affecting us. And then definitely there is the ultimate goal of the ritual is that it imbibes spiritual mood, disciplines the body and mind, and leads to mystical experience. There is no doubt about it. That is the main purpose for which Swami Vivekananda has said we cannot throw out, we should not throw out rituals. There are, in Hinduism also, there is when Hinduism was reformed, Brahmo religion started. That means Brahmo was a reformed Hinduism. So they actually gave up all the rituals. Only thing that they had the prayer, singing, getting together and having some what is called prasad, as it is called, food, feast if you call it in that way. That was the end of their spiritual practice. But the point is that rituals means individually things will be practiced to reach the goal. But when it is reformed in this way, actually they lost the spirit of spirituality. That is quite evident. Brahmo religion and such other religion you find, Swami Vivekananda himself has called this Unitarians. It is a godless religion. That means you will not find God in what is called in Unitarian religion. But definitely moralist states, then different types of social activities, they are states, they are very good. But by practicing that, actually it will be difficult to reach to have the self-realization. So these are the great advantage of rituals that we see that has come down to us. And if we really serious, so we can practice that, and it has been said it should be maintained also. And there are certain evidence also we see that has been found practicable. So there is one saying which I am quoting from Swami Prapannananda's one writing, the meaning of ritualism. In one place he has said, he has quoted in this context that his master, that means Swami Brahmananda, actually had, this is a pithy example. So my master once said, a man should begin his spiritual life from where he stands. That is the most important part. For instance, ask an ordinary man to meditate on the absolute Brahman and he will soon tire of his efforts. So it is not possible for an ordinary man who has heard this only and try to realize that. So it will be a futile effort. The truth of Brahman will elude him. However, if the same man is asked to worship God with flowers, perfume and other offerings, he will find his mind gradually becoming concentrated on God. And he will experience joy in his worship. So that is the point. That means he will stick to that practice if he does this ritualistic practice. So that is why it is recommended. In fact, when we join, that means when in Ramakrishna order people join, mostly they are given this ritualistic worship or something related to ritualistic worship just to imbibe love for God, love for Sri Ramakrishna, association of Sri Ramakrishna. That is the first step. Through ritualistic worship, one delights in the performance of japa or chanting the name of God. Slowly actually, in a ritualist practice there is also repetition of name. So naturally that is more serious or more concentrated way of practicing spirituality. So that mood actually comes. You begin to love to chant his name, and the finer the mind becomes, the greater grows its capacity for higher form of worship. Then actually you can do mental worship, think of God, always thinking of God, and in that way things will develop. Thus, the aspirant advances towards his ideal through a gradual and wholly natural process. Natural process. That means it is not something which will be strange to him. Every day he is eating, so every day he is taking care of somebody. So all those things are turned into worship. And in that way, actually, gradually, he proceeds towards the goal. So in this way, actually, you see that this ritualistic worship that from the point of view of an individual is really very much useful. And those who find difficulty in keeping the mind concentrated, that is quite common. And if they do ritualistic worship, probably they will find good result, or slowly improvement will be there in their own spiritual practices also.